rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem and my old Kentucky home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of our America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by hard times come a-knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home, good night. Weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
You may be seated. Good evening. On behalf of the faculty of Dixie Heights High School, I would like to welcome each of you to the 2018 Dixie Heights graduation ceremony. We are here to honor these students and to recognize them for a major accomplishment in their life. Thank you for being here to share in this milestone event. We are pleased to have as guests with us this evening Dr. Henry Webb, Superintendent of Kenton County School District, Mrs. Martha Setters, Executive Director of Learning and Leadership, Mrs. Jessica Jane, Kenton County Board of Education member, Mrs. Carla Egan, Kenton County Board of Education member, Mr. Josh Crabtree, Kenton County Board of Education member, Mr. Matt Moore, Assistant Principal, Mr. Tom Spritsky, Assistant Principal, Mrs. LaFawn Benton, Assistant Principal, Mr. Maddox, Mr. Duzing, Dr. Eckler, Mrs. Ring, Mrs. Denler, and Mr. Gillis, who will be presenting the seniors for graduation. A special thanks to the Dixie Heights faculty in attendance this evening. They are seated behind the class of 2018. Thanks to each of you for being in attendance and assisting us in honoring the class of 2018.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce tonight's musical portion of the program. First, our choir, led by Miss Katie Hayward, will sing Light in the Hallway, originally performed by Pentatonics. Following this selection, our band, led by director Sarah Shamblin, will play Southern Hymn by Samuel Hazo.
Ooh.
At this time, it is my privilege to introduce the Salutatorian for the class of 2018, Ms. Lauren Hudson.
Faculty and staff, friends and family, and of course, fellow graduates. Each of us has had a different high school experience these past 4 years. Within the walls of Dixie Heights, each of us have made memories that have helped shape us into the adults we are today. Our freshman year was spent settling in and wandering the halls, wondering if the rumors about the secret pool on the roof were true. Our sophomore year, we searched for our spot in the student section and desperately tried to find our voice. In our junior year, we worried about standardized testing, hoping and praying that we finally got the score we needed. But when senior year at last rolled around, we looked to the future, all the while milking our last few months, weeks, and days of our time at Dixie. This year has been a year of lasts. Last first day of school, last football game, last high school dance, last theater production, last basketball game, last time walking the halls of Dixie as a student. But this coming season will begin a year of firsts. First college class, first long-time job, first day of boot camp, first time living away from home. As nostalgic as this year of goodbyes has been for many of us, the coming year of hellos holds the greatest promise. For as long as I can remember, my mom has been telling me that when one door closes, another opens. And for all these years, I brushed it off as just another cliche saying that parents say to make their kids feel better when they're upset. But as we inch towards this all-important night, I realized how true this proverb actually is. Throughout its 82-year history, Dixie has graduated a list of notable alumni, including A-list actors, powerful mayors, press secretaries, major league athletes, and even a Secretary of State. This impressive list of alumni begs the question, what is the class of 2018 destined to achieve? Out of the 321 students sitting in this arena today, some of us soon to be doctors, lawyers, politicians, artists, soldiers, you name it. The possibilities really are endless. At Dixie, we have successfully created a community of thinkers. We've gone to class 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks a year, for 12 years. In those 1,008,000 minutes, we have learned to think deeply, critically, and abstractly. However, during our post-high school careers, I challenge each of you to create a community of not just thinkers, but of doers as well. Volunteer, create a student organization, excel at your profession, take a leadership position. I hope each of you will take your newfound knowledge of Dixie and apply it to the outside world as a doer, in addition to a thinker. As we exit this arena tonight, we will have officially moved on to the next stage of our life, whether we think that we're ready for it or not. If you take nothing else from this speech, I ask each of you to remember one word: perseverance. No one is promised that this next stage of life is going to be easy. There will likely be days where literally nothing seems to go your way. If and when these days come, persevere. If you give up at the first sign of hardship, you miss out on all the possibilities perseverance delivers. You miss out on the unbelievable results perseverance provides. Dixie has given us the skills necessary to take the leap to the next level. Now, it's up to us. They've done our job, and now it's up to us to do ours. I know many of our postgraduate plans look different, but no matter the path we choose, let's go out and be a doer. Let's go out and persevere. Let's go add something to that Wikipedia list of notable alumni. Instead of watching the door to high school close, let's go out and bust down that door to the rest of our lives. Thank you.
It is now my honor to introduce the Valedictorian for the class of 2018, Miss Madison Webster.
To the graduating class of 2018. A long time ago, and elementary schools not so far away, we started this journey. We are Kaywood Comets, Hinsdale Patriots, River Ridge Timberwolves, Fort Wright Falcons. Our curious minds were eager to explore the world and soak up as much knowledge as possible. Even though we were young, we learned some of the most important lessons back then. We learned to believe in our parents and our educators and in ourselves. We learned to question. I'm sure we annoyed our older siblings or parents by constantly interrogating them, but learning how to ask the right questions would become our most important tool for gaining knowledge. Socrates once said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing." The most successful people are those who are able to admit that they don't know all of the answers. We learn to appreciate the little things in life, specifically recess, and perhaps most importantly, we learn that boys have cooties. We've all grown since then. Well, most of us. Some of us are still waiting on our growth spurts. But more essentially, we have grown to learn what's most important in our lives. To any underclassmen in the crowd, I encourage you to cherish your friends and family because they will keep you sane through the journey to come. As Lauren said, this year has been a year full of lasts. We were all expecting these bittersweet last experiences. But sometimes you don't know when a last is coming. I didn't know that my last soccer game would come a month earlier than expected when I tore my ACL. I didn't know I would never again take the field with the teammates I'd grown up with as both players and friends. I didn't know I wouldn't get a chance to say goodbye to the sport I fell in love with 14 years ago. You can never truly know when you'll experience your last chance. Every day before I leave for school, my dad tells me carpe diem. It means seize the day, and it's the mantra I've tried to live by these past 4 years. But today, I challenge each of you to carpe vitae, seize life. Take each day and make the best of it so you don't have to live with the regret of missing your last chance. So go to that concert. Ask out that person from your English class that you've been stealing glances at all trimester. I'm sure they'll be flattered. Go on that road trip that you and your friends have been talking about since freshman year. I promise you'll realize that the journey matters more than the destination. We have now reached the destination of this 13-year journey. Now it's time for us to start our new journeys. Some will enter the workforce. Some will continue our education. Some will make the greatest sacrifice by choosing to defend our country. No matter how far our paths diverge, we will always be connected by the honorable title of being a Dixie Colonel. Recently, many students have become dissatisfied with some of the circumstances we currently face. We have become familiar with a world where we have had to rely on decisions made by the generations before us. But now we have a voice. Whether you're passionate about pollution, foreign policy, or equal rights, you have the ability to make a difference. If we each carpe vitae, we can help shape the world so that our children can grow up in a world that knows landscape instead of landfills, peace instead of war, love instead of hate. Philosophers have long pondered the question of the purpose of life. I know I'm just a 17-year-old who doesn't have much authority on this subject, but to me, the purpose of life is to leave the world a better place than it was when you encountered it. Find your passion and leave your impact. Who knows, maybe one day students at Dixie will read your name in a textbook and beam with the pride of sharing the title of Colonel with someone so influential. To our families, thank you for raising us into the young men and women that we are today. Thank you for giving us the resources we needed to pave our paths in life. Thank you for your never-ending support and your endless amounts of love. To our teachers, thank you for all of the long hours. Thank you for the early mornings and the late nights. Thank you for taking the time to give us feedback and advice that will stay with us for years to come. Thank you for investing in our success. And to my fellow graduates, thank you for these past 4 years. Thank you for being the friendly faces that I will miss seeing in the halls next year. And thank you in advance for the wonderful changes you will make in the future. Like they say in High School Musical, we're all in this together. Carpe vitae.
Dr. Webb, as principal of Dixie Heights High School, it is my honor to attest to the fact that the members of the class of 2018 have fulfilled all of the requirements for graduation as set forth by the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Kenton County Board of Education, and therefore have earned the diplomas they are about to receive. All of our graduates will be receiving the Dixie Heights Diploma. They have successfully completed at least 28 credits of coursework that include a certain number of required and elective credits. Furthermore, our seniors have the opportunity to earn additional diplomas based on the completed courses they take. The Scholars Diploma is an honorary diploma presented by the school to graduating seniors who completed a pre-college curriculum plus 2 credits of the same foreign language and 1 credit of chemistry or physics. Students who have met the criteria for this diploma are noted with a symbol in the graduation program and with a stamp in the lower right-hand corner of the diploma. The Dixie Heights Honors Diploma is an honorary diploma presented by the school to graduating seniors who have completed a prescribed rigorous program of studies. Students earning this diploma must have successfully completed any 4 advanced placement courses in the contents of English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, art, or music. Students who have met the criteria for this diploma are noted with a symbol in the graduation program and is represented with a gold honor sticker in the right center of the diploma. The Excellence Diploma is an honorary diploma presented by the school to graduating seniors who have met a completed prescribed rigorous program of studies. Seniors earning this diploma must have successfully completed advanced placement courses in 5 out of the 6 content areas. Students who meet the criteria for this diploma will receive an additional diploma. This is the second year the Kenton County School District is using the Cum Laude system to recognize graduating seniors. Cum Laude is a Latin term that means with honor. It is used to refer to students who have met high academic standards at the time of graduation and are receiving their diploma. There are 3 honors that are bestowed upon graduates, including Cum Laude, which means with honors, Magna Cum Laude, which means with great honor, and Summa Cum Laude, which means with greatest honor. The highest honor is Summa Cum Laude. These students have a 4.2 grade point average or higher and are wearing gold and white cords. At this time, I would like for the students who meet the criteria for the Summa Cum Laude to please stand and accept a round of applause. The next level of the Cum Laude system is Magna Cum Laude. These students have a grade point average of 3.8 to a 4.2 and are wearing silver and white cords. At this time, I would like for the students who meet the Magna Cum Laude to please stand and accept a round of applause. The last level of the Cum Laude system is Cum Laude. These students have a grade point average of 3.5 to a 3.8 and are wearing bronze and white cords. At this time, I would like for the students who meet the criteria for Cum Laude to please stand and accept a round of applause. As our graduating seniors receive their diplomas, we ask that you hold your applause until all graduates have received their diplomas. This is a very special moment for our graduates and their families, and we want everyone to hear their name called as they receive their diplomas. Thank you.
Madison Ashley Nicole Webster, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Lauren Elizabeth Hudson, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Bradley Clayton O'Connor, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Keziah Joe, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Sydney Noel Jones, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Lauren Michelle Meifelt, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Grace Ann Reedmatter, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Jackson Warner Burns, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Sydney Nicole Milburn, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Jacob Roderick Boehner, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Logan Alexander Wibberly, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Hannah Catherine Boehner, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Tatum Bree Isaacs, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. John Dennis Eider, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Lauren Marie Neiman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. William Evan Schneider, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diploma. His diploma is being presented by his mother, Beth Schneider, speech pathologist for Kenton County School District. Anna Claire West, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Dorian Ray Cook, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Victoria Frances Smith, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Madeline Kate Isles, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. John Patrick McCann, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Tate Elizabeth Rigby, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Mason Thomas Eldridge, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Samuel Adam List, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Samuel Harrison Wright, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Isabella Grace Miller, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Dylan James Barney, also receiving the Dixie Scholars, Honors, and Excellence Diplomas. Madeline Emily Showalter, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Whitney Lynn Taylor, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Sarah Grace Bigney, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Amy Elena Reynolds, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Mackenzie Ruth Wessel, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Haley Jade Bruss, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. And Samuel Walden Reister, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. His diploma is being presented by his mother, Bev Reister, teacher at River Ridge Elementary. Congratulations.
Sierra Mae Sturm, also receiving the Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Caitlin Rose Bunch, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Sydney Leanne Fisk, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Nathaniel Ellis Roberts. Helen Kennedy Michaels, also receiving the Scholars, Honors, and Excellence diplomas. Allison Nicole Lloyd, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas, being presented by her father, David Lloyd, Facilities Systems Manager for Kenton County School District. Andrew Henry Bolin, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Sydney Renee Wilson, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Madeline Nicole Gerald, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Andrew Jordan Daria, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Molly Catherine McGowan, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Brandon Patrick Barker, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Diamond Elizabeth Martin, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Ricky Hercule Nagai, also receiving the Scholars, Honors, and Excellence diplomas. Paul Thomas Gunther, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Abigail Macklett, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. John Zachary Winkle, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Liliana Marie Olt, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Lindsay Michelle Dames, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Dylan Reed Johnson, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Sydney Ellen Mills, also receiving the Scholars, Honors, and Excellence diplomas. Heidi Michelle Hurt, also receiving the Scholars, Honors, and Excellence diplomas. Kyle Patrick Eubanks, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Ryan Philip Brock, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Joseph John Weber Eckler, also receiving the Scholars diploma, being presented by his mother, Dr. Jennifer Eckler, freshman coordinator at Dixie Heights High School. Angela Bosniak, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Georgia Elizabeth Brooks, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Dylan Anthony Shelton, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Jade Elizabeth Higas, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Hannah Morgan Gribble, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Joshua David Adams, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Mallory James Beal, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Gabrielle Lee Capel, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Brannon Nathaniel McGinn, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Ethan Paul Manning, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Tyler Stephen Schreck, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Rayanne Nicole Smith, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Megan Ray Ramsey, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Alexandra Renee Engelhard, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Vincent Wallace Morrison, also receiving the Scholars and Honors diplomas. Sarah Natalie Wiedemann, also receiving the Scholars diploma. Annie Marie Atkinson, also receiving the Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Michael John Shoemate, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Aubrey Madison Middendorf, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Kennedy Skyree McIntosh, also receiving the Scholars and Honors Diplomas.
Matthew Edward Sims, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. William George Reedmatter, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Brendan Edward Barton, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Bailey Jade Grout, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Deanie Ann Pelfrey, also receiving the Dixie Scholars. Leighton Michael Perkins, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Laura Ann Maria Colbrand, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Sarah Eve Fitzenberger, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Callie Elizabeth Stamper, also receiving the Dixie Diploma. Bethany Michelle Grigson. Noah Mitchell Carey, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Lauren Kelly Bernstein, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. I got this. Caroline Lucille Buddenberg, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. David Allen Gregory, also receiving the Dixie Scholar and Honors Diploma. Abigail Elizabeth Deaton, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Caitlin Paige Jones, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Lydia Catherine Colbrand. James Logan Fetters, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Savannah Elizabeth Bitter, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Michael Owens Thompson, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma and the Honors Diploma. Tanner Gregory Bryzock, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Thomas William Gammon, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Audrey Victoria Schulte, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Kaylee Renee Stewart, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Caitlin Marie Fangman, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Daniel Evan Sims, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Sierra Marie Martis, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Derek Timothy DeCibio, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Cecilia Marie Orr, also receiving the Dixie Scholar and Honors Diploma. Isaiah William Ash. Zoe Margaret Wortman. Miranda Page Bosley, also receiving the Dixie Scholar Diploma. Bryce William Deary.
Dylan Wayne Abney. Kaylin Ruth Adams. Emily Marie Adkins. Alina Marie Allen, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Rodolfo Alfonso Alvarado Reyes, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Johanna Marie Armstrong. Leah Ann Artmeyer. Kira Bell Ash, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Katie Ann Autry, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Adam Chandler Bachman. Lauren Elizabeth Boehner. James Kyle Bailey. Samuel Noah Baker. Gracie May Barnjum, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Gavin Grant Bauer. Kwong Ook Boy. Sydney Nicole Becker. Jose de Jesus Beltran. Anna Danielle Bennett, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Grace Marie Bentley, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Griffin David Edwin Berter. Alexis Eve Bitter, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Danielle Kathleen Bloomline. Haley Lynn Bolton, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Candace Simone Bradshaw, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Christopher Donald Bray, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Trevor Dawson Bray. Tanner Charles Bright. Dylan Michael Buckingham, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Chase David Buckman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Dean Austin Buckman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Trinity Celeste Starr Burton, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Hannah Marie Butler, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Cameron McLean Byers. Nicholas Allen Byland. Heather Lynn Campbell, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Haley Denise Childers, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Matthew Joseph Childress, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Tristan Alexander Clemens. Hannah Elizabeth Margaret Cole, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Trevor Keith Collins, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Caitlin Page Couch, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Augustus James Coyle, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Keegan Matthew Cundiff, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Anna Maria Schwakala. Vincent Thomas Schwakala, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Zachary Thomas DeMoss. Joseph Anthony DeVore. Shane Daniel Dubose. Ann Lynn Nicole Duffman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Dylan Charles Ebling, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Zachary Glenn Edwards, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Brent Ashley Eggers, Jr. Hannah Renee Ernst, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Cameron Thomas Farley, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Austin Michael Ford. Israel Cicero Frazier, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Meredith Ann Freed. Donald Tyler Freeman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Logan Tanner Gebhardt, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Charles Robert Girding, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Christopher Jordan Gilbert, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Sydney Beth Gillenwater, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Destiny Ann Goff. Melina Ann Gramada Jones.
Avonlea Chloe Gregory. Congratulations.
Esteban Adrian Guzman. Kyle Ray Hansel. Haley Michelle Herbstreet. Carlos Adrian Hernandez. Crystal Snow Hill. David Tyler Hobbs. Lane Houston Hogan, also receiving the Dixie Honors Diploma. Kara Michelle Holbert, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Bryson Christopher Huth. Charles Edward Jackson III, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Mikkel Katsuyoshi Girdo. Colby Allen Johnson. Lynette Marie Johnson. Spencer Allen Johnson, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Alyssa London Colleen, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Alexandra Lee Keith. Ryan William Kilmer, also receiving the Dixie Honors Scholars Diploma. Braden Taylor King. Brennan Charles King, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Brandon Scott Kleiss. Ethan Alexander Lafferty. Jesse Michael Lane. Dulce Paula Lechuga Mateo, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Olga Stephanie Lechuga Mateo, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Boy Joel Leon, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Michael Burton Lloyd Jr. Charles Calvin Laurie. Andrew William Lachavo. Emily Page Mahoney. Priscilla Poitier Malonda. Jose Orlando Mandujano. Ram Kil Mong. Logan Chandler Mattioli, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Justin Allen Matthews. Antigone McCarthy. Kevin Mendez, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Charles Carson Myers. Diplomas being presented by his aunt, Virginia Smith, teacher at R.C. Hinsdale Elementary. Cameron Miller. Ryan Abdul Miller. Also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Bryce Michael Mavis, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Erin Faith Moore. Lila Mae Moore, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Lila Rose Moore. Cameron Cole Morgan. Michael William Morgan. Andrew Jacob Morris, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Anakin Foster Mullins, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Avery Lila Mullins, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Jacob Lee Nash. Michael Harris Neiman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Olivia Amaya Oldham. John Paul Paganetto, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Max Alexander Papworth. Julie Hyung Chin Parr. Long Kip Parr. Justin Matthew Penick, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Aaron Wayne Pennington. Alexandra Renee Perry.
Chase Braxton Plummer. Kelsey Lynn Plummer. Dawson Daniel Poe, also receiving the scholars. Trevor Austin Rademacher, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Vincent Allen Ramsdell. Alexander Stephen Rao, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Cameron William Reed, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Kevin Reyes Remigio, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Aaron Jacob Rice, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Jessica Lisa Marie Riddle, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Angel Sky Rieselman. Caleb Wayne Roman, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Cayenne Ariel Rose, also receiving the Scholars Diploma. Fanu Sabina. Hei Leon Sang, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Morgan Leah Saunders. James Gage Skaggs, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Brett Daniel Shoemaker, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Jessica Marie Sharp, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Olivia Naomi Leanne Shea, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Paris Anijah Nashay Singer, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Lawson James Smith, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. His diploma is being presented by his mother, Virginia Smith, teacher at R.C. Hinsdale Elementary. Tyler Leanne Smith, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Jerry Wayne Springer, Jr. Miles Andrew Spurlock, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. William Chase Stanfield, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Joshua Allen Sudkamp, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Nicholas Michael Tucolvi, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Chan Dut Tong. Elvin Tong. Kendall Janice Thompson. Nicholas Beck Thornton. Sui Tin Tiao. Maurice Tony Jr., also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Alexis Elizabeth Tucker. Elizabeth Hope Turner. Charles Garrett Vallandingham, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Tyler Lee Vanover. Catherine Lee Varney, also receiving the Dixie Scholars and Honors Diplomas. Nicholas Robert Ward, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Hannah Paige Wortman, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Her diploma is being presented by her mother, Tina Wortman, principal at Fort Wright Elementary. Kyrus Jaden Washington, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Alyssa Marie Weber, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Farida Ahmed Wahiba, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Tate West, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Matthew Alexander Widrig, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Joshua William Wolf, also receiving the Dixie Scholars Diploma. Gage Michael Woods. Maria Claire Wiestefeld, also receiving the Scholar's Diploma. Her diploma is being presented by her aunt, Virginia Smith, teacher at R.C. Hinsdale Elementary. Zachary Thomas Ziegler. Congratulations.
It's my pleasure to introduce the president of the 2018 class, Mr. Samuel Wright.
You know, when most presidents speak in front of a crowd, it is likely that what they are saying could sway an enormous amount of people and possibly even alter the path of their respective organizations. As your class president, it is evident that I have no such power. And that is fine, because my job here is simple. I only wish you leave here knowing what is behind you and what is in front of you. If you really step back and look at it, there are a lot of great moments behind all of us. Maybe not all of them were enjoyable or successful, but they are all meaningful because every single one of them has contributed to who you are today. I invite everyone in this room to reminisce on the great parts of high school. Do you remember the first club you joined? Do you remember the people who let you in? The people who accepted you, giving you the opportunity to become more than what you were? Do you remember your last meet? Your last show? Your last game? This is part of what high school was for. These little moments, these moments of joy and laughter, these moments of friendship and accomplishment, these moments of illumination and love. And at this point, I know what you're all thinking. Sam, I went to Dixie. Yes, I know. Not all of it was that. If any of you experienced what I have, you will know that Dixie was a challenge, in many ways more than academically. There were days when Dixie might have been the very last place you wanted to go. Dylan, what am I doing? Are we good? Okay. There are days when perhaps the only reason you put on pants that morning was because it was Chicken Tender Wednesday. Tell me I'm wrong. And in these ways, Dixie showed you the hard parts of life. It's true. But today is proof that that was not in vain. Look at yourself now. You may have grown taller, you may be stronger, you may know more about calculus or chemistry or biology, but it is most important to know that because of those rough days, you are a wiser human being. You know more about yourself now. You know more about how to treat others, about what you can and cannot do, and about what you love. And it is this personal journey that is the intrinsic value of your high school education. Along this journey, we have picked up our most precious things, our wildest dreams, our strangest hobbies, our craziest sleeping habits, and our dearest friends. We all know that in some ways it will be very hard to leave Dixie Heights High School. But we also know that those we have connected with most will never truly leave, and the memories most precious to us are always there. This journey is over now. This is the day that we've been working towards, and at the end of this day, we will all know that the end product of high school is not just grades, class rank, or a square hat. It is more than that. It is ourselves. We've all known failure, and sometimes we've been pretty low, but we have also had success. Let me remind you of the successes of this class alone. A girls' soccer team that won the Northern Kentucky Athletic Conference Championship. An indoor girls' track team filled with state champions. The runner-up state champion swim team. A marching band worthy of grand championships at Taylor High School in LaSalle. The state champion runner-up in wrestling. The 2 choirs that earned distinguished ratings at KMEA. A boys' basketball team runner-up in the region. A mock trial team with 3 state championships. A football team with several students contending on at college. A GSA Carnegie Scholarship winner. 3 girls basketball players in the all-region team. The 2017 Independent Author of the Year. A successful independent band named Arbor, rock on. 4 National Merit finalists, 2 National Gold Medal winners, 3 silver winners in the Scholastic Writing Awards, 3 Overture Cincinnati semifinalists, 4 All-State Band members, 2 Best of Show winners in the Regional Art Competition, the Microsoft Office State Champion, 7 Governor Scholars, and 2 students with a perfect 36 on the ACT. And the list could go on and on, but I know at this point, no one would listen. But the point is that we can all be proud of being a part of this class, and we can all be proud of becoming ourselves. The journey each one of us took up to our own accomplishments is what makes us us, and we could not have that journey without a great foundation. That foundation includes our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our sisters, our brothers, the staff, the teachers, the cooks, the custodians, the bus drivers, and countless volunteers, all contributing to our success. And for that, I think we should always be grateful. And that is why we should be so ecstatic. No matter what you see in your future, I know that Dixie has helped prepare you for your life's journey. Being it going to college, joining the workforce, or joining the military. The time we've had at Dixie is one to remember, but it would be amiss to forget the opportunity that lies ahead of us. Our lives belong to no one but us now. They are only ours to grab, only ours to achieve, and only ours to truly enjoy. You know, speeches are great, but I really think Dr. Seuss sums it up better. Congratulations! Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You've brains in your head. You've feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. Dixie Heights class of 2018, I invite you to stand and move your tassel from the right to the left, indicating we are high school graduates.